Welcome back to HRS. This segment is sponsored by Easton
Outdoors, and Micah Miller is the managing member.
Now is a great time to refresh your outdoor space.
With more on improving your outdoor living spaces.
Now with more on improving your outdoor living space.
Welcome back to the Hampton Roads Show.
Thanks for having me. If you didn't watch the first part of this series, pause, go back, and check out what this space was before what you see behind me was here. This was just grass, an unused area in the middle of the parking lot, underneath the tower, right next to all their dishes and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very unused space, but they needed a place where they can come out when they're on the Hampton Roads show. They can show outdoor living, they can grill on the grill, they can hang out here. The anchors can sit right at this bar on the other side and enjoy talking where the camera is placed over here. So they needed something that's an outdoor setting, that's cozy, that shows up well on camera, that looks good. And so that's what we did here in this space. So let me walk you through the 4 main elements of this space and some of the little bonuses that we put in with it. So I'm gonna start over here with the kitchen. So what you see here is a bar setup. So we got a granite bar top here, and this is installed by MGL. It's a really, really nice piece of granite. What I really like about it is some of the really bold striations that it has in it. So you can kind of see kind of like this river look flowing through it. And I think that that really makes the space have body and flow and structure. A lot of times the granite is like this speckled and it just doesn't have a lot of interest. So when you're sitting here, you're at your bar stool and you can kind of see how this cutout is right in here. When you're sitting at the bar looking at the camera over there, this is just gonna have a nice kind of cool look to it, and it's gonna show up really well on camera. And then there's a grill that we built into the space. So we've got a grill right here. This is Napoleon grill. It's just their standard 30-inch grill. There's nothing like crazy about it, but it has a lot of nice features like light up handles, and it can be built in or it can be freestanding. So we've got a cabinet set right here, and then we also built in a trash can. So this is really cool. You got a trash can right here that you can just put your trash right in there. But the one thing that's really cool about this particular trash can is you see that circular cutout right there? So this can also hold a propane tank if you wanted to run everything on propane. And then there's little grommets right here where you can run your propane hose out and then right to your grill. So it's just a really cool dual purpose area. We set this one up as a trash can because they're gonna have trash out here and they want a place that they can put it where it's gonna be out of the way. So the bar, in my opinion, turned out really, really well. I really like the low voltage lighting. Even though most of the time this is gonna be used during the day, the lighting still shows up pretty well on the camera. Now this wasn't in the original plans. This was a surprise for them because we do a lot of water features and I wanted water features to be on TV when they're in this set. So this is a stacked slate sphere, and you just kind of see it's not super loud. It adds just kind of like a subtle sound to the space. We wanted something like that. So while they're sitting here, maybe you'll just hear it just a little bit in the background, but it also looks really, really cool. So we installed a light on the top of it right here, and you can kind of see that light down in there, so that when this water is bubbling up like you see it right now, it kind of looks like a little bit of a flame. So I really like the way that that adds a texture. When it's lit up, you can kind of see that water just rippling down the sides. I just really like the element that that adds, and it gives you a focal point. A lot of times a space like this, you know, maybe the kitchen would end up being the focal point in a space like this, but the water feature is actually probably going to grab most of the attention, and I wanted it to be that way because water features are really special and everybody needs one. Part 3 of this space was the fire pit area. And one of the things that I always try to do is, you can kind of see this line right here. I always try to incorporate a line or some division or a different pattern or a different texture in a fire pit space. And the reason is, I think that fire pit areas are a place where people can gather, have real conversations, be honest with each other, hang out, and it's a place where you can unwind and relax. And so I always want the fire pit area to be a different texture and have this line so that you know when you cross this line into the fire pit area, you are now in the, I'm not talking about politics, or we are talking about politics, or it's time to talk about family, or it's time to talk about work or not talk about work. And so I created this medallion, if you will, in this space so that when people are sitting in here and they cross that line, it has that ever-present warmth. And especially by the materials that we use, you can see this textured wood block that we put in here. And so that's, again, just trying to make this warm, cozy, and an awesome looking space that feels how we want it to. Now, the final element is the lighting. So you notice in these panels right here, we've got a lot of lighting in them. We've got them uplit. We've got lighting in the bar. We've got lighting in there. We've got lighting in the seating wall. So we got the lighting and the landscaping kind of just tying this whole space together, because if we didn't have any of that, it would just kind of be a space out in the middle of nowhere. So that fourth element is kind of just the peripheral, kind of creating that ambiance, kind of that structure to the space and giving it some depth. Because if you didn't have these panels with the lighting in them, what the next thing would just be that brick building, and you're not stepping up to it. So I wanted a way to kind of like step up into the space. So we got the panels with the lights in them that kind of draw your attention to it. Eventually there's actually going to be hydrangeas that are going to be about 6 or 7 feet tall behind these panels. And then you'll have the brick building. And you see we added some landscaping here. We added some boulders with some lights on them, so you just kind of know where the corners are. And then we did just kind of like a nice, warm, welcoming with boulders and grasses and landscaping right here as you kind of approach the space. So I'm really excited for you guys to see this. We're getting ready to do a first shoot on here and kind of introduce everybody to this space on TV and see what it looks like when it's live on camera on the Hampton Roads show. Get outside, my friends.